our magazine, I think one of the things people really like about it is we are a take-based economy.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
We're an economy where you got to have a hot take.
Got to have an opinion. You got to preview a prediction.
A prognostication,
yes.
right? And so our magazine is really, at its core, a magazine full of predictions, a magazine full of projections. We predict every district and the finish of every district in the state. We predict the finish of every conference in college, including the ones that don't even have a school here. Like we predict the Pac-12. We predict all sorts of things. A lot of predictions and prognostications. When you go on the record like that, you're going to get a fair amount wrong. Right. And I think we've been very clear from the jump that
you are always wrong and I am always right.
That you're always right. Correct. But we're going to get some things wrong. Totally get it. That's fine.
It happens.
I'll wear it as a badge of honor that we are going to get some things wrong. But we get the rib at the end of the year that if we predict McKinney Cornerstone to finish last in the district and they end up winning it, we'll end up getting an email being like, "Hey, great prediction, idiot." Get it? Part of the job.
Sure.
Right? We signed up for this. We're not the only ones who make predictions. On the questionnaire that we send to every coach in the state, we ask them to predict their district. We ask them to predict their region, and we ask them to predict the state. And so, we call it the Coaches Poll, and you can see it in the 2017 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football coming out in mid-June. But I want to take a look at it. I want to take a look at what they did last year and see just how good these hot-shot high school football coaches are
here we go.
at doing our job. You're going to come into my kitchen and make eggs? I'm the one who makes idiot predictions.
To be fair, you asked them to make eggs.
So let's look at last year. One thing that you'll notice about coaches, and we've said this before, and it goes for journalists too. We know our area, right? But we may not know the grander, scheme.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you talk to Mike Foreman, our friend at Victoria, the Victoria Advocate, and you asked him, "Hey, who's the best team in El Paso?" Mike Foreman's a really smart guy. Mike Foreman may be able to tell you it's like, maybe El Paso, El Dorado.
It's also not his problem.
It's not his problem, so he doesn't. So he probably won't be able to come up with that. That's no fault of Mike. Mike's a super sharp guy, and Mike knows his area really well. But it's just natural that you consume yourself in your area.
Right.
Same thing goes for coaches. Coaches always know almost always know how good their team's going to be. They have a pretty good idea how good they have a pretty good idea how good their district teams are going to be.
Right.
They have an okay idea of how good their region teams are going to be. And from a statewide perspective, it's not great. So last year, and so what happens when you go into the statewide projections is that you get a lot of the blue bloods. You get a lot of repeat champions and stuff like that. For example, last year, their number one team unequivocally in 6A for the coaches poll was Katy.
Right.
Katy they thought was going to run away with 6A division. 6A. 5A, they liked Cedar Park, unsurprisingly. They were state champions. Cedar Park Alito, right? The two teams that are blue bloods.
Right.
In 4A Division 1, they liked Argyle, which is interesting because they were not defending champs, but they liked them. 4A Division 2, they did like West Orange Stark, etc. The regions are where it gets a little bit more interesting because you look at, for example, last year they had the Woodlands second in Region 2. Mm-hmm. They said, we think the Woodlands is going to be pretty good. Because, again, you're drilling it down and you're saying, you're drilling it down and saying, oh, well, these teams are closer to me. I have a better feel for that. So I want to take a look real quick at what coaches are thinking for the 2017 season. Mm-hmm. The number one team in 6A, would you care to guess?
Allen's
fourth.
Fourth? Katy.
Third.
Coaches.
You're thinking too hard. You're thinking too hard.
No, those just seem like the easiest. But I guess DeSoto.
1.
Okay. And Lake Travis.
2. Yeah. Exactly. They have a lot of repeat champions. They think
but
rounding
it's
out.
Funny that coaches think that because they know that Yeah, man, I get that these teams reload, but both of those teams graduated a ton of kids, whereas Allen and Katie had good years last year, and most of those players are back.
5A, Alito at the top, and a runaway favorite in 5A. Runaway. They've got, like, of the first place votes, I think they got 70% of them. Highland Park number 2, which is interesting because they do lose a lot.
Yeah.
They lose a fair amount.
Right.
But you're the defending champs, you get the bump. Temple, number 3. Denton Ryan, number 4, which is interesting because they lose a lot of that defense. And Manville 5. Number 5.
Yeah.
4A Division 1, they like Carthage to repeat.
We can all agree on that.
Carthage looks very good. Argyle, number 2. Abilene Wiley, number 3. 4A Division 2, they still like West Orange Stark. Gilmer is number 2. Salina, number 3. 3A Division 1, the coaches like Brock. Followed by Cameron Yo, followed by Wall. Interesting that they are able to, that the 3A Division 1 coaches are able to look at Mineola, the defending state champs, and say, you know what? Great team, losing a lot, including their coach.
Yep.
They've got Mineola 6th in 4A in 3A Division 1. 3A Division 2, they like Gunner to repeat, but it's close. There's a triumvirate at the top of 3 teams that they like. Gunner, Canadian, and Newton.
Yep.
Those are the 3 teams that 3A Division 2 coaches really like. 2A Division 1, it's a runaway for Refugio. They think Refugio is going to repeat. Crawford, number 2. Mason, number 3, without a first-place vote, though. Nobody thinks Mason's the best team in the state. Mart does get 3 first-place votes at number 4. And in 2A Division 2, it's Tenaha. Tenaha, number 1. Bremond, number 2. Iran, number 3. And to me, that speaks to those 2A Division 2 coaches knowing the personnel.
Albany 4?
Albany 6.
Wow.
Burton 4, Wellington 5, Albany 6.
I'm going to have to disagree with you there, coaches. I think Albany's going to have a good one.
For me, the interesting thing about that one is that they're able to look at that and they're able to say, all right, Tenaha brings back everyone after taking Bremond to their closest game.
Yeah.
Bremond loses their dude.
Yeah.
And now they're able to draw that distinction.
Yeah.
If you're interested in 1A, they like Borden County to repeat, and of course they like Richland Springs in a runaway. In fact, Richland Springs got all but one first-place vote in
Color me shocked.
1A Division 2.
Yeah.
So for me, what this tells me is that coaches value pedigree, right? And we obviously we take a lot of what the coaches think and their predictions into our own projections as well. That's a big part of our projections. But that is, to me, that speaks to something we always talk about. We talk about it's easier to do it a second time than it is to do it a first time.
Yes.
Right? Pedigree matters. And coaches clearly understand that pedigree matters. Now, do I agree with all of their picks? No.
Right.
I don't think I don't think DeSoto,
for the most part they're
let's put it this way. I don't think they've got a team number 1 that I don't think is going to be any good. Let's put it that way. Right.
But I mean,
they've got DeSoto number 1 in 6A Division 1 or 6A. I don't think DeSoto's the best team in 6A. That's my opinion. I don't think DeSoto's the best team in 6A in 2017.
They're probably one of the top 5.
But they're one of the top 5.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Top 5, top 8, top 10. They're up near the upper echelon. There's not a team there that I totally and wholeheartedly disagree with. But I think that speaks to coaches who value the pedigree part of it. And so we will have full coaches poll results in the 2017 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. That's just a little taste for you.